Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shojo's Bizarre Adventure. It is I, your host, Stella Luna.
And Laura Nisa. Hello, everyone.
Hello! So, this week, I started watching Happy Marriage. And this week, I
Mm.
also finished my Happy Marriage. In a day, I binged it. And boy, do I want to talk about it. I was like, I want to talk about this.
Let's talk about it.
Because I missed when everyone was talking about it, right? Like everyone, like now it's over and no one's talking about it anymore. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm late, I know I'm behind, but man, this show surprised me.
It is good.
I
It
didn't
is so good.
like. Okay, I knew it was gonna be good, right? But I think what surprised me was like the supernatural elements because I didn't read the text. I didn't even read the synopsis. I was just like, yeah, it's fine. Right? Like I'm like,
Well,
my happy marriage, right?
I feel like they didn't really advertise the supernatural aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lot of people by surprise. Because they're just going in like, oh, it's kind of like a historical romance drama.
Yeah.
But no. Like there's so much more to it.
I was shocked. Like I was shocked. Just like the two dads. I was shocked. Uh in the episode where they burned down the manor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
spoilers, I guess, if anyone hasn't seen it. Spoilers. Yeah, this first part we're gonna probably talk about spoilers, and then we'll get into something else. And so if you haven't seen My Happy Marriage, you should disregard what I had just said.
You should go watch it.
You should
first
go
of all.
you should go watch it, and then come back to this episode, and we'll have a timestamp at least on YouTube to skip to. For that. But anyways, so yeah, I was shocked because I was not expecting that supernatural element. And I was pleasantly surprised though, because I thought it was just gonna be a historical romance as well, like drama, whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so when we started getting like some of the other stuff, I was like, ooh, what
Yeah,
is this?
it grabs you by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
It's really intriguing. Yeah.
Well, like it's funny because like the series really reminds me a lot of Fruits Basket, actually.
Yeah.
Like it
definitely does. Yeah.
It's like one of the, like, if I was like, oh, you watch Fruits Basket, try My Happy Marriage, because I think anyone who likes Fruits Basket would love My Happy Marriage, which I'm gonna have to tell my sister. I'm gonna have to be like, hey, yo, you should watch this, because she loves Fruits Basket and she doesn't watch anime. But like she loved Fruits Basket, so I'll maybe recommend My Happy Marriage to her. And I'm like, cool, we got another anime we can suggest to somebody, people. You know,
when we had the episode about like having anime series to recommend to someone who hasn't watched a lot of anime, I actually got a lot of my friends who don't like anime typically into My Happy Marriage just because of how the storytelling and the characters read off. Even my mom, I got my 60-year-old mother, into My Happy Marriage.
Well, because it doesn't do the weird shit that anime does, like that like is very much like for anime watchers, like I'm really glad it doesn't either. I mean, like shoujo doesn't usually have like a ton of weird things that like anime does, but like it could, right? So when I was watching the series, at first I felt bad for Koji. Like the childhood best friend who like really likes her. Like I kind of felt bad for him, and I was like, oh, this guy, like he's not really that powerful, and he really wants to help her, and like all this stuff. Like he's trying his best, right? Like he's really trying his best to help her, because like she's born to a family and they treat her like a servant, like dirt, because she doesn't have any supernatural powers. Ha ha.
No, literally, her family is the worst.
The worst. I thought maybe the dad, I was like, maybe the dad isn't that bad at first, and then I was like, oh no, he is actually he's bad.
All of them are bad, but I mean the stepsister Kaya,
oh my god. I've never wanted to just like her and I'm just like, you want to come here? Like
all this, I'm gonna slap her.
If anime characters were real, oh my god, it would be right on site. It would be on site.
Absolutely.
I hated her. Well,
I
because
hated her
at
too.
first I was like, okay, is she gonna have like this weird complex where she like really likes her sister, but like she has to like please her mother too, and that she'd be like actually like kind of a more like I mean she's a complicated character, but like a more complicated in terms of like her emotions and feelings towards her sister versus her family, like her other family, right? And like just trying to appease her mom. And then but then that's not what happened. that's not what happened.
No, she does not get her redemption. At least not in season 1.
No, at least not yet. But I was just like, cause I'm like, are you gonna be? Oh my god, too. I was so happy when I was like, okay, because when Kyoka when he goes to the Saimori Manor, you know, like the talk with Mori or Mio's dad, right?
Yeah.
And he, you know, he's walking away, walking out. He walks past Kaya, right? And she sees him and sees how beautiful of a man he is.
Oh yeah,
like,
he just keeps on walking.
And he keeps on walking, and I'm like, oh my god. Kaya is like Lysa's dude now, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for her to figure out that beautiful man is Mio. So like, I can't wait. I was so like I was waiting for it, and when she found out, I was like, yeah, seeds, bitch, seeds.
Exactly. And Mio has him wrapped around her little finger. So.
I know. I mean, like. You know what's funny is like Kyoka really surprised me because he was really like cold at first, and he warmed up very fast.
He did.
Like, it didn't take like the whole season for him to not be a fucking asshole, which I really appreciate. That like eventually like he realized he's a smart enough character to realize like, yes, I don't think this girl's coming after my power or money. So
exactly. He made that realization very quickly.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. I support him. I get like he's great. Like I really liked him. You know, and I was like really hoping that like, oh, when you know, like they go shopping and then they'd run into them because I mean they in the opening it's kind of like what happened, but like that's not actually what happened, right?
Yeah.
But you know, like Kaya wanting Kyoka so badly because like he's beautiful and he's a powerful man, and you know, like she's like, I can't have Mio doing that. She can't be better than me. You know?
Exactly. No.
I was like, yeah, take that, bitch. Take that. Take it. I loved the karma in this show. Like the karma felt so good.
It does. Like for anyone who just wants not instant, but just like that satisfying feeling of the worst that could happen to a character actually happens.
Yeah.
Just like, it's amazing.
But anyway,
she got what she would deserve.
Koji, go back to Koji, okay? I felt bad for him. And then I found out they left something out in the manga. And that apparently, this was like, I think chapter like 14. So it should have happened, I think, sometime within these episodes, right? Apparently he thought about killing Mio and killing himself after. Like to save her.
That's some very Romeo and Juliet
and I
shit.
was like, okay, all right, Koji, you lost all respect from me now. I was like, you lost all respect from me because I'm like, okay, I get it, right? He's like trying his best, you know, like he's like, I saw a lot of people being like, because, you know, right after I went to TikTok and I was like, I'm looking through the tag to see what other people are saying. And a lot of people were like, he's a coward, he's all these things. And I'm like, I don't think he's necessarily a coward. I think he's just knows he can't, like, he knew he could not really fight his father. Yeah. Right? He is not strong. He is not powerful. He's not Kyoka. Right? And so he did everything in his power. Like, I mean, the fact that he went to her fiance to get him to help that, because she was kidnapped.
I feel like he's very self-aware.
Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of people really upset when he tried to confess to her again at the end. And I'm like, I don't think he was trying to confess because he wanted to try and win her back. I think he wanted to resolve those feelings,
Yeah, I
right?
think it was more yeah, definitely more for him. I mean, there was no chance Mio was gonna
There's no
Mio was
chance.
gonna leave for him.
There's no chance.
Absolutely no chance. So,
Okay.
and I feel like he knew about that too.
Yeah, I think he knows. I think he knew, and I think he wanted to resolve his own feelings because, I mean, this is a girl he liked, and, he now it's the girl that got away, right?
Yep.
And the fact that, like, it was actually supposed to be Mio who ended up in that arranged marriage with him is crazy to me. Like, right? It was supposed, that's what happened, right? Like, he was supposed
Yeah.
to, but then, like, the father switched it up on them. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Okay,
god.
what are
Yeah.
your thoughts about Arata?
Arata, the brother, right?
No,
Wait.
not the brother. The guy with the glasses from the Usubu family. Usuba.
Ah. Dude, I kind of forgot about him.
Oh, yeah, that's understandable. I liked him. I liked him. I saw people being like, because, like, when she was staying at the Usuba family, Usubu family, right?
Yeah.
Like, manor. And, she met her grandfather, and then, like, he's her cousin and stuff like that. And then he starts talking to her about, like, this is his duty, his job, like, he's been waiting his whole life for it, right? And then, like, basically was like, I'm supposed to be your spouse, right? I saw a lot of people being, like, really icked out by that, which, I mean, I understand, like, they are cousins, right?
Yeah,
But, like,
yeah.
the one thing that bothers me is when people are, like, really freaked out by it, and they're like, oh, how can they do this? Like, why did they do this? Why does Japan do that? I'm like, okay, this is like, this is like a time in Japan where that, like, kind of stuff is normal. Like, we see it throughout history
Yeah.
and other like cultures as well too, of, like, people marrying within their family to, like, keep that
I mean,
bloodline going.
yeah, it's in history books, not only in Japan, but like
Yeah. Yeah, like
almost every old like society.
is it weird when it happens in, like, modern day and it's, like, set in modern day? Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely
Yeah.
weird. But I didn't find it that, like, like, weird. I was like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because I'm like, how else is this family surviving if they're not allowed to, like, marry without outside of their family? Like, how would they keep going, right? And,
Yeah.
like, is it like, yeah, okay, cousin, but, like, it's the same thing with, like, Yona of the Dawn, right?
Yeah.
Because Yona of the Dawn, Yona wanted to marry Suwon, right? And
Yeah.
Suwon was her cousin. And to me, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, they're royalty. Like, yeah, it's her cousin, but, like, they're both royalty. And of course, like, it like, to Yona, it was normal. Like, that is a normal thing, right? When it's, like, written in historic, like,
Mhm.
fantasy, I'm fine with it, because it's like, whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, it's
It's
not
just
like, I'm not like pro, like, marrying your cousin, but, like, I'm like, yeah, that's, like,
I
kind of
mean,
part of history.
yeah, it's part of history and yeah, for a historical fantasy series to have that, I mean,
Like, yeah, I
it
mean, it's
was
like, that makes sense.
it was inspired by history.
Yeah, exactly. Well, same with
And
Yona, right? Is inspired
yeah.
by it, yes. Is it like historically accurate? No, because
No,
this is
yeah.
made up, right? But, like, it's a made up historical setting, so, like, stuff like that doesn't, like, really surprise me. Just like, yeah.
Mhm.
And, like, I don't know. I don't see a, like, a visceral reaction, because I'm like, I feel like that was pretty obvious that, like, oh yeah, he's her cousin, and the way he was talking to her too, I'm like, yeah, he's supposed to be, like, like, her fiance. Like, he
Mhm.
was the that side of the family's choice.
Yeah.
I I also really
Yeah.
appreciated that, like, Mio, like, seeing Mio, like, over time, like, gain confidence, and, like,
Yeah.
seeing her come out of her shell, especially at the end. I love that.
I
I
feel like
Mhm.
My Happy Marriage does so many things right.
Yes.
Very similar to Fruits Basket. Again, going back to that. It's just it gives you that character development that
Mhm.
you just well, again, since a lot of like shoujo series only get one season, we just don't have the time to get that character development, but they fit so much into one season.
They did,
Uh,
but it was
mhm.
executed beautifully.
Yeah, the storytelling was beautifully, the animation, holy crap. Like it's one of the most beautifully animated series that I have seen in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, well, it's funny because when Fruits Basket was coming out or when it like ended,
Mhm.
Jojo and I had been talking about how Fruits Basket, because of how well it did, it could be the
Mhm.
start of the Shojo Renaissance. And
Oh
that is
yeah,
exactly
totally.
what we're in right now.
Yeah.
Because so Shojo, we have like My Happy Marriage, we have like A Sign of Affection, which looks great, coming
Mhm.
out. Like there's so many other things that are coming out that look phenomenal, look great. And but on
Mhm.
top of that, we're now getting merchandise being made again.
Yes.
The
Mhm.
fact that like we're getting Nendroids made, I'm shocked. Like I pre-ordered the the Amu one, Usui. I just pre-ordered Shin from Amnesia, Memories, the game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which I'm so excited for because I don't have any Amnesia merch, and I'm like, yes. And I'm gonna pre-order the other ones too. They have other Nendroids coming out, and I'm like, I'm pre-ordering these. I need an Orion one, is what I want, because that's my boy. That's my boy. I love him. Um, but we're in a shoujo renaissance, and
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I Fruits Basket really did so much for
yes,
just for animation studios and the industry to finally notice that you can actually make money off of shoujo and it can
mm-hmm,
be taken seriously if you actually give the series
a
like the
chance.
proper the proper care and attention that shonen just gets automatically, but shoujo series were just like not that they were like
They were made.
I
The
mean,
shoujo series were honestly made to promote the manga.
yeah, not I wouldn't say they were done carelessly. They were just done to like almost like a teaser trailer, but it's like, oh, if you like this, go buy the manga type of
Absolutely,
thing.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, and then also, Lovely Complex just came out with a dub. Or
Yeah,
is
the
coming out with
English
a dub
dub.
with an English
Uh-huh.
dub, which I'm like, first of all, I'm happy. I'm very happy for the voice actors. I'm very happy for everyone who got to be cast. On the other hand, though, it should have been me. It should have been me. Like, look, that's been a dream role of mine forever, and now it's gone. I'm so mad. I am so I am a little salty. Like look, I'm happy for them. I'm happy, but it shouldn't be me because you know why? Because I wouldn't be goddamn acting. I would just be. I've never related so much to a character than Risa. Like Risa is my. I think I've talked about this, but Risa is like if I
Yes, yes, yes.
kinned a character, she is my kin. Like she is me. She is just virtual like 2D me because, like, let me tell you, I was a girl growing up, tall, feeling like a fucking freak, and I related so hard to her. And I'm like, I mean, even down to her goddamn personality, like, like
They should have hit you up.
they should have hit me up. It should have been me. But
They
I
should have
mean,
been like, "Psst, psst, psst, Stella, we're casting.
okay, but
We have a
what I love though, is that the voice actors for Nobu and what's his name? God, I don't remember his name.
Ah,
Her boyfriend. I can't remember
yes.
his name. Right?
I can't remember his name
They
either.
are played by an IRL couple who are married.
Ah!
By Alejandro Saab and Hayden. I don't remember their last name. I guess
Mhm.
it would be Saab too. I don't know if they took the last name
Maybe.
though.
I don't
Maybe
know.
they are married. So
Mhm.
but I was like, that is awesome.
That's really cute.
That is really cute. Which just sucks because I'm like, I know I follow them on Twitter, but I just can't think of their last name for whatever reason. But uh I know Alejandro is like a mutual of mine. What well, his VTuber is. Um
Mhm.
his VTuber is a his VTuber account and I were mutuals. and he's really cool. He's actually very nice. I was gonna have him on. Maybe we can bring him on the podcast. I was gonna have him on my talk show when I had it, but like maybe we could bring him on the podcast. That would be cool.
Oh my god, that would be so cool.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring both of them on. Maybe I'll be like, hey, do you and your spouse your partner want to join for our podcast? Maybe that would be really cool. I don't know. I think that would be pretty
that would be
sick.
amazing.
Yeah, be pretty sick. You know, it would be like, let's talk about Lovely Complex. Like, let's talk about. I don't know how much they could talk about it. I mean, they probably can actually because now it's all out and stuff like that. But like, that would be pretty cool. If you guys want that, like, leave a comment. Leave a comment. Yes. Tell us if you want to. I will try to hook us up. Okay, I will try to hook us up. I know a few voice actors that we could bring on. But yeah, like. We're in a Shojo Renaissance, and we
totally are, yeah.
I'm really happy. I'm really excited. Like I'm just straight up so excited.
We're getting so many good shojos recently.
Yeah, like because like Shojo is so slept on, and I think because when we talk about Shojo, a lot of times like we bring up a lot of older series because like that's just kind of like what we have. Right? And so, a lot of them seem really juvenile because of the fact that a lot of the series are older. Like, it's like talking about old shonen. You know, like, if you were like, if people were like, well, shoujo is like, so, like, whatever, right? It's like so juvenile and whatever. And I'm like, I mean, to be fair, like, when shonen was coming out at the exact same time, it was the exact same thing. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So, but shoujo hasn't had a chance to actually shine with some of, like, the more like mature topics and the more mature like themes and stuff like that, you know. Actually, wait, is my happy marriage a shoujo or is it a josei?
It's one of those that kind of lives in the gray area because the light novel came out before the manga.
Yeah.
So I think I don't remember if it's the manga is classified as josei and the light novel is shoujo, or the other way around. It's just kind of, you know, how we talked about in our, what was it, our second episode about the demographics?
Yeah.
It's just one of those series that's kind of in the gray area.
It's in the gray area. Yeah. It's because like to me, I'm like, well, I mean, she's an adult, they're adults, which was also like, oh, that was great. Yeah, adult characters. Oh, yeah, let's go. Young adult. Yeah, I can sip as much as I want.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, yes, another man to add to my husband list.
Yes. This white-haired man added to my list.
Beautiful.
He's beautiful. He's so pretty. I'm like, I was like, ooh, yeah, I love you. Okay. Yeah. You're great. You're going into the everyone loves you until you do something problematic and then everybody hates you. But speaking of problematic.
Problematic.
Yeah. So we got someone tweeting out to us. I don't want to say names or like, you know, on the tweet and stuff like that, because like I could see where they're kind of coming from our episodes, but like that's why we're gonna kind of talk about like problematic stuff and just talk about like I guess like clear some stuff up, right? Like it's not like I don't want to be like super mean to this person, right? Which they kind of came at us a little bit aggressively, right? But like you know.
I mostly just like had my eyes rolling just because a lot of the things they screenshotted a lot of our tweets and like thumbnails, but you could clearly tell that they didn't take the time to actually listen to any of these episodes and see that we did talk about the things that they pointed out. So this is how it all started. I made a tweet on our podcast Twitter account about some series to watch instead of, you know, A Girl and Her Guard Dog, which we've already talked about in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And I mentioned there's not a whole ton of shoujo series. So I kind of mentioned like the bigger ones. So I mentioned the Yusuke's family 4 sons. I forgot how. Well, the one that had the subtitle issue.
Yeah.
It's super good, by the way. It's highly recommended. I also mentioned the new Precure season. My goofy boss or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Hypnosis Mike, which I freaking love.
I need to watch that. Oh, well,
Okay,
Paradox
I'll
Live
give you
is
a
coming
little
out,
synopsis.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
episode 3 just came out on Tuesday. That one's also really good.
Oh, I need to watch that. But anyways,
I
continue.
highly recommend it too.
Yeah,
Well,
they have a
Hypnosis
song
Mike,
that's
for
like by
those of you
Stella.
who, oh yeah,
I'm biased.
yeah. So for those of you who are not familiar with the franchise Hypnosis Mike, um, very similar to Paradox Live, which is also airing in this season, they're musical projects that have you know, a ton of CDs and singles in Japan. They have stage plays. Hypnosis Mike also has like manga series,
Mm-hmm.
its own rhythm game. Paradox Life is getting a rhythm game as well. So like they're the whole thing
Yeah.
in Japan. So both of them have um animes currently airing right now on Crunchyroll. Paradox Life is on season 1 and Hypnosis Mike is on season 2. And they're both more rap hip hop based musical projects. So if you're into that, definitely check them out.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Paradox Live is more serious, where Hypnosis Mike is the most unserious series. Definitely, yeah, problematic. Sure, it's rated M. What could you expect? Like they're self-aware,
Ah,
but also
yes. Rated
it's
M for
just
Hypnosis Mike.
yeah, it's just it's completely. You can meme anything in the series. Starting from the units, none of them make sense if you see them on paper. Like one of the units is like an ex Yakuza member,
Mm-hmm.
a corrupt cop, and then like an ex Navy man. Then you have like a doctor, an overworked office worker, and an ex gigolo.
Man, this sounds just like
So,
like VTuber groups, man. It's just VTuber groups.
like,
Doesn't make sense on paper at all.
yeah, like they just like don't make any sense. They're all chaotic, and it's a very self-aware series that they know they're making memes,
Yeah.
and that's what they do. The music's good too, but just like in this is not even a spoiler because it's such a stupid ass moment. The ex Yakuza member in the latest episode,
Mm-hmm.
he likes to smoke cigarettes. So in that episode, he was out of cigarettes, so he was going through nicotine withdrawals.
Ah, yes. So
And
he is picking up butts from the street and trying to smoke them, right? Like the kids did back in the day.
no. So he's not doing that, but he's all grumpy. And
Oh,
then they're
that's
trying
so
to get
fun.
to like the way they fight is through rap battles, essentially through through rapping. It's so ridiculous when I explain it. Um, so there's a moment where he gets so grumpy that he starts like literally punching air, and it's just this big tough guy punching air.
Me when I'm trying to punch Kaya. Punch in air.
Yes. And then you have the other two like, is he like is Samatoki really punching air right now? Like, has he officially lost it?
Dude, I mean, to be fair, like, who hasn't lost it in this economy?
Exactly. But yeah, like this, there's nothing in Hypnosis Mike that you can actually take seriously. So to be like, oh yeah, that series is super problematic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not romanticizing anything. It's just a rap battle series. It's the most ridiculous thing in the in the universe.
Yeah.
It's not a girl and her guard dog that are romanticizing a 10-year or 10 plus year like age gap
Well,
with a guardian and like the girl that he was taking care of.
so these tweets, right, were
Mhm.
we're like trying to point out how we're hypocrites because we say like
Yes.
this series is bad, A Girl and Her Guard Dog is bad, yet like these other series that they bring up, like Shugokara and Kami-sama Kiss, are problematic, and we only excuse it because it's our favorites. Which,
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
here's the thing, right? Well, first of all, I don't give a shit if you watch A Girl and Her Guard Dog. Like, I literally don't. The thing is
You
like
can watch it,
you
yeah.
can watch it, and if you want to watch it, enjoy it, whatever. Like I'm not going to judge you really. I don't care what you watch. Like at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I'm gonna stay in my own lane. I'm gonna watch what I like, what I want, right?
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong also with people expressing like disappointment and being kind of put off by and being uncomfortable by this series at the same time
Mhm.
because like this is not what we want. Like it's like we're like studios, this is not what the general public wants. Like we don't want
Yeah,
this.
and you know, like we've already talked about it in our last episode. You
Mhm.
have like these like bro creators that always love to point out how problematic shoujo is, and they always bring up age gaps, and this is not really helping the
No,
case.
no,
So,
because here's the thing, right? It's like I don't know how
mhm.
old this person is who made these
Yeah,
tweets.
I have no idea.
I feel like they're pretty young, to be honest. I feel like
Probably,
they're
yeah.
very young in terms of like the way they were going about like the way they tweeted things.
Mhm.
And, like times do change. Like that's the thing is like yes, there are series where I'm like, yeah, the age gap between Ikto and Amu is very fucking problematic. But when I watched the series, I was 13. And so with Ikto being 15 and Amu being like 12, I was right smack dab in the middle of this age range where it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
12 isn't that like I'm like some of my friends were 12, right?
Yeah.
And I was 13 because of where my birthday is, and then like Ikto is only 2 years older than me. So like yes, at the time I didn't really realize like why this was a problem, right? And now
Mhm.
as an adult, I can see that and I can criticize that. But of
Exactly.
course, I still have fondness for the series because I am an adult. Not to mention, this is a spoiler alert, but not to mention, Ikto and Amu do not get together at the end. At least from what I remember, I'm pretty sure like he goes off and he leaves. Like if I remember how the manga ends, he goes off and he's like I'll be back. He's gonna travel, right?
Mhm.
Which I'm like, okay, fine, like fine, whatever, that's fine. Because Ikto is like he does like they do not get together at the end. And,
Mhm.
and so I'm like, and plus I was a Tadase Amu person. I wanted Ikto for myself, by the way. I will make that fact known. I was like, you Amu, you could have Tadase, I'll have Ikto. Like
Mhm.
because he's edgy cat boy. But like, as a kid, I didn't realize what like that age gap thing was really problematic because at the time I was smack dab in the middle of those ages, and so I
Yeah.
didn't really see it, right?
Mhm.
Because like, I was 13, and so like, yeah, 15, I'm like, oh yeah, like I went to a small school, and so like we had like I saw high schoolers every single day, right? So like to me, like
Mhm.
seeing a 15-year-old, I saw 15-year-olds, right? And then
Yeah.
I was like in 7th grade, and like half of my class was still 12, you know?
Also, like, okay, I like how they pointed out this age gap, but still, in the grand scheme of things, and also going back to a girl and her guard dog, the age gap is not that big between Ikto and
No,
Amo.
it's only 3. Well, because like it's still like it is weird, right? Like her being
Mhm.
like 11, 12, and him being 15 is weird, right? Because like she's
Yeah.
in elementary and would be actually he would be in middle school.
Yeah, he would be in middle
He would
school.
be in middle school. She elementary, middle school. Okay, right? Like those like I wish they were closer in age, and it's so weird. But it is not the same thing. Like why are we treating it the same thing as a girl and her guard dog when he is like what,
What,
24, 26,
26? Yeah,
26,
and
and
she's
she's 6
15.
and she's 15, 16.
Mhm.
And not only is he like just older than her, he is her guardian and he raised her, right? Which I'm like, that's like what grooming is called. Like that's what actual grooming
Yeah.
is, because I feel like as a society we have taken the word grooming and we have diluted what it actually is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is like taking someone who is underage and you groom them to be your significant other, right? And so
Mhm.
you mold them into and you manipulate them into what they are, right? I haven't read or watched A Girl and Her God Dog, and that might not actually like technically happen, because again, it's fiction, and like you could write him as the perfect man who would not actually groom, like who would not actually like manipulate her in that way, right?
Yeah.
But the age gap in real life is bad, and that is why, right? And because it's like, it's not just like a 26-year-old who fell in love with a 15-year-old at some, like, just like by happenstance. It was, he raised her and fell in love with her, which is like a whole different thing.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to start doing the comparison thing, like at least compare to like-minded series, and those are not the same.
I would say a more like-minded series would be Usagi Drop.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to compare series, and Usagi Drop, I have a lot of problems with, right? I loved Usagi Drop when I just watched the anime, and then I discovered the manga.
Yeah.
Because it stops where it gets bad, right? And I'm like, because I still feel the same way about Usagi Drop as I do A Girl and Her God Dog. Like, even though I did watch that one at a younger age, I'm not younger, I was still an adult, but like you know, I watched that and I was like, ooh, that's fucking weird. That's weird. Because she was a literal child.
Yeah, like this user also made the comparison, like, oh, Kami-sama Kiss, because Tomoe, the fox yokai, is over 100 years old and he's with a high schooler.
I hate this. I hate this one. I hate this one.
Okay.
I hate this one. I hate this one.
This scenario would never happen. Okay,
yeah,
let's start with that.
Let's start with that. This is the same thing as I feel about goddamn Twilight. Okay, like people have the same problem with Twilight, which I had just watched all the movies not too long ago.
This series is based in fantasy. There's no fox yokais that are just gonna be there willing to.
I feel like for it to be actually an age gap and be problematic, it needs to be the older person in question needs to be human and needs to be in like human age range. I feel like the series needs to be set in like reality and not just like this made up fantasy world. Well, because with Tomoe, or even just goddamn fucking Edward, because people talk about this in Twilight too. Yes. Right? Like there is no, when it comes to like a monster, demon, angel, like whatever, right, and a human, they're not real, and a lot of times they are written the way they look. Right? Yes. I saw a Twilight creator talking about this. I'm going to be talking about Twilight because like this is the best example, and people have this exact same problem in Twilight.
Yes, I remember.
Because like Edward is like over 100 years old, right? And he's dating Bella. But like people tend to fail to realize that like Edward, like, there's a lot of wrong between Edward and Bella's relationship.
Oh yeah.
But it's not the age thing. It's not the age thing, right? Because like in the series of Twilight, it is proven that he is forever mentally 17.
Yeah.
Because of the existence, the whole storyline with goddamn race car and like, you know, like Bella's baby race car and the fact that like the what are they called? Not Vatican.
Oh, the Volturi?
The Volturi, yeah. I was like, the Vatican. The Volturi literally talk about how like children being vampires, they couldn't because they would never grow up and they would never change, right? Which means that
they're
Edward
frozen in time. Yeah,
is also frozen in time. Like, yes, he has gone around the world and all this stuff, and he is very much like, he is very old and all that stuff, but he still has the mind of a 17-year-old. And the thing is that he's never gonna get older. And what makes Edward bad to Bella is because he knows that she's irresistible to Bella. And that's all explained in Midnight Sun, apparently, in the books where it's from Edward's point of view, and that's where it gets really bad. But it's the same thing. It's like when it comes to like people shipping, or like people with Tomoe and Nanami. Yeah, like Tomoe is not a real. He's not real. He's not a human. And when I say not real, I don't mean like, well, he's a fictional character. It's that he is a fox demon, And fox demons do not exist. If they did, they definitely would not be hot 2-dimensional men. Like they would be fucking monsters.
If they were freaking real, you would have a whole army of women just lining up to go to the shrine.
Yeah. And so
if they were actually beautiful, but
so to me, I'm like, that's not really problematic, because that, like, for an age gap to actually matter, it needs to be set in a reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, to me, I'm like, I no human exists like Tomoe, right? Who is like, who is over 100 years old and, like, you know, like, acts like 100 years old. You know, like, we watch even like Noragami. You know, like, Yato is like thousands of years old. That man still smells like a fucking garbage can. Like, yeah, like he's like, yeah, he's a god, or yeah, he's a god, right? You know, but like, that doesn't mean he's like, he acts like 1,000 years old, because we as humans don't know what humans at 1,000 years old would act like. I mean, have you seen a 100-year-old?
Nope. Well, not in person.
Oh, I have. My family doesn't be that old. But let me tell you, a lot of them have a hard time speaking. They have a hard time doing anything. Like, they're old, you know, like, they have memory problems. Like, I don't see Tomoe having memory problems like that. You know?
No.
Like,
yeah, I feel like it's just that type of scenario doesn't give me the ick.
No.
Girl in a guard dog gives me the ick. I just read a manga last week. It's called Stray Cat and Wolf. It's one of the newer releases from Yen Press. That gave me the ick as well.
Yeah.
That's it was a 22-year-old, and the girl, I think she's 15. But what gave me the ick was that he's so self-aware and even tells her, "You're a minor. Like, this can't happen." And then a few I hated this, because if I knew it had that from the get-go, I would have just, like, left it at Barnes & Noble. And then a few panels later, they're making out. And this happens, like, several times throughout volume 1, where he's like, "Oh no, but you're a kid." Treats her like a kid. Tells her to her face that she's a minor. And that...
Oh my god. Yeah, well, that's, and like I said, right? Like, you can
read it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go and enjoy whatever you want. Like, I don't care, because, like, different people, like, if you're an adult reading stuff, I expect you to have critical thinking and things, and that, you know, like, there's going to be series that have problematic themes in it, but you should be adult enough to read some of it and be like, okay, I'm gonna put on my critical thinking cap, and I'm gonna analyze. I'm like, oh, that's not great. That's not good, right? Like, I haven't watched, like, the Fruits Basket movie yet, but, like, you know, like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna be very critical of it, because obviously, like, the relationship between Kyoko and her, you know, Toru's father, whatever his name is.
I forgot his name, because I have no idea who.
I
don't want to know his name.
I don't want to know his name. Is bad, but, like, from what I, like, have heard about it, is that, like, the family doesn't approve of the relationship. Like, like, it is not.
They didn't.
I hear that, like, there are people who are like, oh, it's so bad, it's so problematic, but I hear other people being like, well, yeah, it's supposed to be. That's why Toru has trauma. Like, like, that's why it's bad, and it's why, because, like, it's why Toru takes shape of her dad when he passes away, because Kyoko was so dependent on him, like, unhealthy. I can't even say it. To an unhealthy degree, right? To an unhealthy degree, she was dependent on him, and
that's so sad.
And it is sad, but, like, I feel like she, like, the mangaka wanted it that way, because it's like, yeah, it adds to the trauma of things.
Oh yeah,
right?
definitely.
And it is fucked up, but I don't think it's supposed to be romanticized. From what I hear, it's
Mm-mm.
not supposed to be romanticized. And I'm like, okay, good. Right? Because again, I think those topics should be talked about. We should have examples of them in
Yeah,
media.
when I made the tweet, like I don't want stuff to like not exist.
Yes.
I consume a lot of series that people find problematic,
Yeah.
but I can also criticize the hell out of them as well.
Mhm.
But I mean, you and I and everyone else has the right to make the decision that something just makes you uncomfortable, it gives you the ick, whatever phrase you want to use, and you just don't want to watch it or consume it or recommend it. Because like for me as like a content creator that does a lot of like manga recommendations, I get asked so many times like to recommend series that just make me uncomfortable.
Yep.
For a while it was like Living Room Matsunaga-san and oh my god. Oh my god, what's the name of the manga series? Uh Takane and Hana, which is both of them have a pretty large age gap.
Mhm.
And I'm just not comfortable reading them.
Yeah.
And people need to respect that. Even for like a manga recommendation content creator, we're not going to be reading and recommending every
Free manga.
every manga out there. Like there's going to be stuff that I'm just kind of like, like that's not for me.
Yeah, and it's okay to be critical of your shows. It's okay to be critical of
Yeah.
things, and it's okay because I think, and I don't know if I've talked about this, but so I am. I think it's weird
Mhm.
as two millennial women, right? I feel like our generation fought tooth and nail against boomers to be like fiction does not affect reality. Like, do you
Yeah.
like remember
Uh-huh.
like all that, right? Like
Yes.
we fought tooth and nail, and now I feel like Gen Z, specifically young Gen Z, is coming in and being like, fiction affects reality. And here's my thoughts on that, right?
Mhm.
I do not believe fiction affects reality. And when I say this, it means that, like, example, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I like that series.
Mhm.
I am uncomfortable with Kana. I am uncomfortable with how they treat Kana. I like
Mhm.
Toru and I like Miss Kobayashi. You know, like I like those two characters, but I feel Kana is weird, and also Lukoa is kind of weird with I forgot what his name is. Um that's weird, but like Lukoa on her own, I like her, right?
Mhm.
And me enjoying this series and watching this series has not made me a lolicon. If fiction affected reality, I would be a lolicon now. Like
Mhm.
I didn't pick up like a series and go, "Ah yes, I am now a lolicon." I am a
Yeah.
firm believer though that fiction enables reality. So, essentially if somebody is going to be a lolicon or be a fucking weirdo, they are going to
Mhm.
go out of their way to watch those series to enable themselves, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't change
Yeah, I can
them.
see.
Like the fiction doesn't change them. They were already fucked up, right? I
Yeah.
because I know as millennials, like when GTA 5 or any GTA came out, and boomers were like, these violent video games are making our hooligans
Yes, I
violent,
remember. Mhm.
right? And it's like, no, like no, we none of us are playing these games and going and like running
We're not
people over.
replicating these things.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
replicating these things because it's like it's not changing us as who we are, right? But there
Mhm.
are stories of people who played GTA 5 and ran over people with their car. And they were like, I just wanted to know what it felt like, right? Like in the
Yeah.
like from the game, right? But that's because there was something with them
Yeah.
already that was
Mhm.
wrong, and GTA 5 only enabled them. It didn't change them.
Mhm.
I
No, yeah,
do,
I agree.
and I do think fiction affects reality. And it can seem that way when you are a child, when you are a minor, because
Mhm.
as minors, you take everything in and you try to mimic it, and you try to
Yeah.
you try to fit in, and so you mimic the things that you see and that you like, right? And so yes, it can feel like fiction affects reality for you, and it probably kind of does, right? Because of the fact that you are so young and you're like a sponge essentially, right? But as an
Mhm.
adult, it's not changing anything about me. I can read the most vile thing ever, and I will probably feel sick to my stomach. But it will not change who I am.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of like my take on it. Hashtag probably gonna get canceled. Yeah.
Oh, like, the quote tweets, like, they got really pressed with Hypnosis Mike. I think that's what triggered them.
Yeah.
Which is so funny to begin with. Like, they pointed out that Hypnosis Mike was more, all caps, more problematic. But Hypnosis Mike is not a romance series. It's not romanticizing any.
Well,
once you check it out, Stella, you're gonna be like,
okay.
It's just the most ridiculous comparison.
Here's the thing. Explain South Park then. Then why does everybody love it?
Yeah.
Why are people... I don't like South Park. I don't like South Park or Family Guy or any of those shows. I think they're dumb. I think they're stupid. I don't like the comedy.
Yeah, I don't like them.
I don't like them. But like,
I don't vibe with them.
I don't see people out there trying to cancel these shows because let's be real, a lot of them are actually problematic at the end of the day. If we're like with actual problems, like there are some jokes they make, and I'm like, whew.
Oh yeah,
there's
definitely a lot more media that probably deserves to be canceled. I don't think Hypnosis Mike is up there.
I mean, I don't really know Hypnosis Mike, so I can't really say. But like, to be honest, like I said, you can be critical of your media and you can dislike things, but I think it's silly to go out of your way to like harass people over certain things. Just don't interact. Like, just don't interact with it. Like, if you go, I don't really like that, just don't interact with it. I don't like Taylor Swift, and I try my best to fucking avoid the Swifties. Like,
that's me too.
But she keeps coming up on my For You page, and I'm like,
dude, there's nowhere to. You can't even block her. You can't do anything.
Oh my god, I've tried blocking the keywords on my FYP, and I can't get. Oh wait, look, okay. I used to like Taylor Swift. I used to like her, but her white woman feminism is not it for me. I'm sorry.
I never liked her or her music. It's just not my cup of tea. But
man, you want to talk about something that people like sweep under the goddamn rug and like. They will defend tooth and nail for this woman because, like, okay.
Oh, yeah, they do.
While I'm not out here being like, we should cancel Taylor Swift for this lyric.
No.
Right? But back in the day, right? So I lived in the country, right? And Taylor Swift was very popular before, like, she became actually popular, right? Like, when she had just had her, like, name album, which was just her first album, Taylor Swift, right? She's a song in it called Picture to Burn, right? And there's a lyric in it from like the OG, and they did change it, but she goes, like, basically, if you tell everyone I'm crazy, then I'll tell everyone you're gay. Right? She says that, and that's the lyric, right? And oh my god, the people who do mental gymnastics over that, because I'm like, that is, let's be real, this is 2006 in the country. That is a homophobic line. It is just straight up homophobic, right? But people do mental gymnastics. They're like, no, she didn't mean it to be homophobic. It was supposed to be, she just tell her friends that he was gay so they wouldn't date him. And I'm like, you guys are thinking too much with your 2023 glasses right now. Because I'm like, living in the middle of fucking nowhere in 2006. Oh yeah, homophobic as fuck. And I'm like, that was homophobic because the point of the lyric is to humiliate him, to make him a social outcast, right? Like, to basically, like, burn him at the stake, which is because she's spreading a rumor that he's gay, right? And people are making, like, gymnastics with her and just being like, oh, yes, like, she didn't mean for it to be gay. Like, my queen, it can't be homophobic. And I'm like, she was homophobic in this line. She wrote that.
She's made her character. She's had some character development.
Yes, and like I said, I'm not sitting here saying that we need to cancel Taylor Swift for this lyric that she wrote in 2006. But we can acknowledge that it was still homophobic. But her fans love to do mental gymnastics and say, it's not homophobic. It's
Mm-hmm.
not homophobic. And I'm like, it is though. Like, you can't, it is. And I'm
Yeah.
tired of people defending her when she has shitty behavior.
Yeah.
She
It's
does it all
exhausting.
the time. Yeah, sorry. I used to be a fan of Taylor Swift, and then now I'm not. Pretty much ever since I think Red came out in like 2013, 2012, I'm like, no, no. I don't like it. I don't like it. But yeah.
Yeah, Taylor Swift. It's not my cup of tea.
It's not my cup. It's not. I mean, to be fair, most artists are not my cup of tea. I'm.
Mhm.
You know who's not problematic?
Who?
Hatsune Miku. My queen. My queen could never be hot.
Of course.
My queen could never be problematic. She is never problematic in her life. I mean, Hatsune Miku, the one who created Harry Potter and Minecraft.
Oh my gosh, she's so talented.
She's
Hatsune Miku.
Oh my gosh, she's so talented. She could sing. She could create video games. She wrote it like a multi-billion series. You know, I don't know if it's billion. It might be just multi-million, but like it's probably a multi-billion series. You know, so it's Hatsune Miku.
She can do no wrong.
She can literally do no wrong. You know, she's now
when
running for president.
Oh, I would vote for Hatsune Miku.
I would vote for Hatsune Miku. Hatsune Miku for president. Let's go!
I want Hatsune Miku in all movie theaters as well. That way we can dress up and and just go watch Miku Expo in theaters. And that actually would be cool, though.
Honestly, it would be. And it would be even cooler in the Vegas sphere.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I think I brought that up before, but it would be hella cool. Was actually speaking of projects, or speaking of Hatsune Miku, Project Voltage. So they just came out with their 4th song by Pinocchio P. Let me tell you, I loved it. But I am a little disappointed with this like collab thing that's going on, because they made Miku into different different like versions of her, like as if she was different like types, like trainers for different types. And they didn't execute that within the music.
Yeah, I noticed that with the second single. I was like,
Yeah, the second one was fine. I really liked the third one. I really liked Michi M's. Yep. Yeah. And then they had Pinocchio P come out last night. Oh my god, the Pinocchio P one made me cry. Like
I still need to listen to the Pinocchio P one.
It made me cry, and because it hit like a certain like nostalgia for me that like was like, even though I didn't play the video games as a kid, I love the anime. Like I love the anime. I had the trading cards, and there was just something about it that like struck that like nostalgia in me. And it like made me cry, because I'm like, it just kind of brought me back to like the 90s and like the early 2000s, where like, I was being a kid and I was just enjoying my Pokemans, as the old people would say.
Yeah, I remember.
Pokemans. And I don't know, it was really good. Like, yes, I am disappointed that they're not doing like a different song for each type. But like, it has still been
that's
fun.
What I was under the impression.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to do that.
That's what I thought too. I thought they were going to do that. I was like, oh, that's going to be really cool. And then that didn't happen, because I was like, oh my god, Michi M's going to have the fairy type, and then that did not happen. Which,
well, maybe they just went more for the like what Pokemon means to each producer.
That's true. They could definitely do that, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they're leaning more towards like nostalgia.
Yeah.
They're like around our age.
Take that, Project Sakai. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I missed one. What did I say? I blacked out for a second.
Oh my god.
My bad.
Yeah,
my bad.
The middle-aged men.
The middle-aged man producer. I love them. I love producers. Actually, okay. I'm really proud of my friend, Creep P, Lucy. They are a Vocaloid producer, and or they were. They're not really anymore. but they are actually performing for Digital Stars for the Miku Expo VR thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so proud of them. They haven't made vocal and music in a long time, but like were asked, and I was like, and they told, like, when they told me, I was like, oh my god, I'm so proud of you.
That's super cool.
Yeah, cause like Creep had made like Novocaine. They did a song with I forgot. I'm blanking right now. I mean, I just woke up from a nap right before our streaming. I know our recording. I know we've been recording for like an hour now, but like my brain is still just going. Bleh. But yeah, like they're gonna be involved in the Digital Stars, and I'm so proud of them.
That's super cool.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I can't wait though. I can't wait for Miku Expo.
Oh my god, we're getting yeah. It's almost the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting closer and closer to 2024, and then Miku Expo.
I've been waiting so long. I've been waiting so long. It's been since 2011 when it was Mikunopolis. Like, that's how long I've been waiting. It's almost been a goddamn... No, wait. It's been more than a goddamn decade.
Yeah. It's been more than a decade. That's crazy.
It's been 13 years. Some of the fans are 13 now.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for Miku Expo, going to Miku concerts, and some of you guys have been alive. That's
so crazy.
I know, because I'll see TikToks that have been like, I've been waiting like 2 years for this or 3 years for this, and I'm sitting here like, I've been waiting for 13 years. Like, give me Miku.
That's why we need priority.
Yeah,
priority is standing room.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been waiting for longer.
Yeah, elderly. I'm an elder. So I need to go to the front. Thank you. I will if I'm at the front, you know what's gonna happen is I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna be, because like the music's gonna be blaring in my ears and like in my face, and there's gonna be a lot of lights, and I'm gonna be so overstimulated, but I'm gonna be the happiest I've ever felt in my entire life.
Yep.
I'm gonna be sitting there. I'm just gonna like, Stella, are you okay? Are you having a good time? Yeah. I'm having a great time, as I'm sitting there like just completely stunned because I'm overstimulated.
I can see that.
Okay. Actually, I have another topic, and I've seen this a lot on TikTok, right? I don't know if we talked about this. I'm starting to forget what we've talked about on the podcast now. Look, I don't have great memory. Have you seen like the amount of like, I don't know if it's your For You page. I've been trying to get out of it, but like just like people making fun of millennials.
It comes and goes. Like this morning, I got a bunch of videos about Jonathan Van Ness from Queer Eye, because I guess people went after him for the millennial pause. We talked about the millennial pause thing a little bit a few episodes ago.
I think, yeah. I was like, well, something I was thinking about. I was sitting there thinking about, and I was just like, why does it seem like millennials are cringe? Which, by the way, I don't think a lot of us are. I think a lot of the people you're seeing are cringe are like people who are just kind of weird to begin, like can be weird to begin with. Like being on the internet. But the other thing though is like, I don't know if it's even them being weird, because one of the things I was thinking about is about how like our generation and even generations before us are like severely undiagnosed, like ADHD and autism.
Yeah.
Right? Which I'm like, because when I saw someone bring that up, and that like a lot, like some of it, like some of them are just like being, some adults are just kind of being weird, right? But like, I do think a lot of it has to do with an undiagnosed autism and undiagnosed ADHD.
I think so too.
Because like the thing is like the one thing I noticed is that they go after specifically women.
Oh yeah.
I never see like people making fun of millennial men. It's always millennial women. Right? And the thing is that women are now, at least now, 4 times like female, like women and girls are 4 times less likely to be diagnosed than than men and boys,
Mhm.
right? Because a lot of times, like, it's been studied on boys and not women, right?
Yeah.
Or girls. And I think a lot of it has to be undiagnosed. Like, it's just undiagnosed, like, like millennials are just undiagnosed because at the time, like, we didn't have, we had, like, I'm diagnosed ADHD, and I've been diagnosed since I was like a late like my preteen slash like early teens. I don't remember when I
Mhm.
got diagnosed, to be honest. I mean, I have bad memory, but like I got diagnosed pretty early on, which I'm incredibly lucky that I did.
Mhm.
Right, even though I didn't believe that diagnosis for a really long time, and it's basically been an undiagnosis until like recently. But like that's beside the point. But like how much it can mentally fuck with you, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, I'm in the I undiagnosed crew. Like, I could for the longest time, I've known that my brain doesn't function the same way,
mhm,
but then you have, like especially with this is very common with, like, strict Mexican families, they just refuse to believe that there's anything wrong with you, but they'll also point out everything that's wrong with you.
yep, yep.
But when it comes to, like, mental health, it just, like
If there's
there's a
nothing
lot there's a
physically
stigma
there,
around it, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
like if there's nothing
It's
they
like
physically see on you, there's nothing wrong with you.
yeah, it's like, for older Hispanic families, it's literally mental health care is like, are you crazy or not? And if you fall in the not category, they're not gonna do anything.
No,
You might be just a weird kid that always stays to themselves and prefers to be with headphones all the time instead of talking to the family member, but they're just like, hey, she's not crazy.
here's the thing
she's
too.
just she's just weird.
When it
Yeah.
comes to, because there's a big debate on TikTok about
Mhm.
like whether self-diagnosis is valid, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Here's my take on that. Is that I think self-diagnosis is valid, right? I do think it's
Mhm.
valid. But there is a catch. There's a little bit of a catch, right? Cuz I know that first of all not everyone can afford it. Not everyone can afford a diagnosis. Not everyone can, like, there's like certain life circumstances. There's restrictions for things, like you can't do certain things if you have certain things, right?
Mhm.
Like I understand, right? Like I totally get that, and that's those are all completely valid, right? And that's why you would self-diagnose.
Yeah.
My thing is like I think self-diagnosis is also the first step into getting diagnosed as well, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're like, I think this is wrong with me, and then you ask your doctor and they run those tests and you're right, it's like, oh, awesome, right? But
Mhm.
I think the other side of things is that I find that like people who self-diagnose and then make content off of not just their personal experiences, but just being like, did you know about autism and know about ADHD and neurodivergent people and X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, I don't think you're qualified to like actually talk about these
Yeah.
things, right? Because there have been people, because there was a guy on TikTok and he
Mhm.
he thought he had ADHD. And he went and he like made all of his content about ADHD, and like that was the entirety of his content, right?
Mhm.
Turns out he did not have ADHD. He had autism. And those are two separate things, right?
Yeah.
And so you can be unintentionally spreading misinformation about
Mhm.
things, right? Like
Yeah.
if I'm talking about my ADHD and in content, right? I am
Mhm.
formally diagnosed, and obviously I've read up on things, and I'm like, okay, I know that I do this because of this, right? But if I'm not,
Yeah.
but like there's sometimes I'm like, am I also on the spectrum? Am I also a little autistic? I don't know. Like, I don't know if I am
Mhm.
autistic or not, because I know autism can present differently in women with especially ADHD, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's because of the ADHD that there are some things where I'm like, is it autism or is it the ADHD that I've untreated all of my life? Like,
Mhm.
but I'm not making content off of it, right?
Yeah,
Even if
there's a
I,
big difference between, like, talking about your own experience
yeah,
and kind of analyzing those things, and
yes,
then, like, making content for the general public to find helpful when
yes.
you yourself are not a qualified you know, if you didn't study this, like, no, I
Like, yeah, you can study what you've read online and all that stuff, but
Mhm.
like, I think when you are parading around your own, like if you are talking about your own experiences and you're treating them as if like if the people watching it also do what you do, therefore they are also the thing that you self-diagnose yourself with. And I don't
Yeah, I
think
feel like it falls under the category of like they mean well, but
yes.
at the same time, they're unintentionally spreading misinformation.
Yeah, because I do think there's a lot of millennial, even Gen X and boomers who are completely undiagnosed, right? Because
Hmm.
of science and like how everything has happened and all that stuff, right? And I like, you know, I think having a formal diagnosis is definitely like can be the best option to help yourself just to make sure because again, you might think it's something and it's actually something else. Because
Yeah.
because symptoms can appear in certain ways, right? So like an example, I'm trying to think of an example between autism and ADHD. Like there are symptoms that seem the same, but for the reason it's different, right?
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of like an example of this, but like I guess stimming, I guess, would be one.
Hmm.
Like people who are autistic stim, I can't remember why they stim exactly, but for ADHD people, it's because they are hyperactive. Their brains are hyperactive, right? And
Hmm.
so them having to always fidget is part of that, right? Is stimming.
Hmm.
I remember I was laying in my bed one time. I was scrolling TikTok and somebody was like talking about like stimming and
Hmm.
they were like ADHD sims and and they like were going through and they were like rubbing your feet together. And
Yeah.
I felt really called out in that moment because I was exactly doing that. Like
Oh
as
my
I
god.
was laying in my bed, like watching TikToks without realizing I was rubbing my feet together like a goddamn cricket. Like,
You know what I do?
what?
And I saw a TikTok about this as I was doing it too.
Uh huh.
Like my legs will start shaking. Like they
Yeah.
just bounce up and down
Oh,
when I'm
like,
sitting down.
yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah. And I was like watching a TikTok about it. And I was like, oh shit, I'm doing it
Like,
right
oh shit,
now.
I'm doing it. Yeah. No, and it's funny because it's actually ADHD Awareness Month right now. Uh, it's also Latino and Hispanic Heritage Month as well. That's
Yeah.
yeah, we got two birds with one stone. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. I am both those things. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, like there are certain things you do where
Hmm.
like the reason can be different, right? Like while the
Yeah,
outcome is
totally.
the exact same, the reasoning behind it is different, right? And like it's kind of like when people talk about symptoms and they're like, "Do you randomly sing?" right? And it's like, "Okay, randomly singing does not mean you have ADHD. It might just mean you like to
Yeah.
sing sometimes, right?"
Yeah.
like people will say that, right? But like, okay, someone who's
Hmm.
randomly singing is it because they just like that song, or are they someone with ADHD who like is that like a vocal like fidget essentially or like
Yeah.
stim, right? To them, it's a focal like it's vocal like they're doing it for a reason that has to do
Hmm.
with their disability, their disorder, whereas like somebody else is just singing because they like the song and they just feel like singing, you know?
Hmm.
And and that's why I have a problem sometimes with people on TikTok making content because they don't they talk about the symptoms, but they don't actually talk about like the like why they're done, like why it's
Yeah.
happening, right? I saw this girl and she talked about how what she said something that was like really crazy and then
Hmm.
oh, it was like ADHD people have inner monologues and neurotypical people don't. And I'm like, okay, that's not true. Um,
Hmm.
but the second part, people really misinterpreted, and I got what she was saying, but it was
Uh-huh.
that neurotypical people don't think about their habits, right? And
Uh-huh.
and a lot of people were like, no, people use their brain power for habits and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I think
Yeah.
what they're misunderstanding here, and she should have probably went into depth a little bit more about it, but like the
Hmm.
difference between someone having ADHD and doing a habit and then somebody who is neurotypical and doing a habit is that for ADHD people, they see all the little tasks. So for like myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love being in the shower. But the
Mm-hmm.
thought of doing the entire shower process is already exhausting to me to think about. Because you have
Yeah.
to like, okay, you got to go get your towel, right? Is your towel clean? Oh, it's not, go get a clean towel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to undress yourself. And then you have to get into the water when you are dry, and that's like an uncomfortable feeling. But once you're in, you're like, oh, this is great. And then you gotta wash your hair, and you gotta wash your body.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta wash your body, and you have to you do your stuff, and then you have to get out of the shower, and then you have to
Yeah,
get
it's
dressed,
like a
and
whole ordeal.
yeah, and now you're wet for like an hour. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I don't like being wet. Like I like being in the shower, but I don't like being wet for an hour afterwards.
Yeah,
Right?
no.
And it's just like it's a long process. Like that thing, like it can take me like over an hour to like take a goddamn shower and be dry. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that thought process of like how long it takes like is
Mm-hmm.
exhausting, right? Like just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thought of it, right? And that's what like the brain power talking about. Like I have to think about every single task I do in the day, and that's exhausting. Like getting up, brushing your teeth, making breakfast, like taking a shower. And I'm like, oh my God, those are just things you have to do. That's not even your
Yeah.
actual day. Like, it's not actually your job or like anything else. Like, those are just things you have to do. Right.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
the difference, because habits for people with neurotypical brains tend to be like, they see it as like, oh, these are just like, it's just one task, whereas like people with
Mm-mm.
ADHD see it as multiple small tasks that can feel
Yes.
overwhelming. And that's what we mean by brain power, you know. And people misinterpreted what she was saying with that one. And because I got it, I got what she was saying, but people were like,
I get it because yeah. I mean, you should see my my planner at work. I break down one task into like little tiny things because there's multiple things. So I like to actually like check it off as I'm going. Otherwise, I can't. Like if I just say like, oh, I need to write up something, I'm like, ugh,
like, oh
because I
my
know
God.
there's multiple steps. So then I break them down and go
Mm-hmm.
by one.
Yeah. And like sometimes it's easier, but sometimes, oh my God, it's overwhelming. Just the thought, like
It
the
is
thought
overwhelming.
process
Yeah.
of it,
Hmm.
of going like the whole thing. And sometimes that even happens to me with rigging, right? Like rigging is a huge task that I do. It's part of my job, but like I break it down into small little bits. But sometimes even then I'm like, I feel overwhelmed by a project. And like, even though I've done this project a million fucking
Hmm.
times, like I've done rigging a million times, I still get overwhelmed by
Yeah.
models.
Yep. Sometimes I have to like draft up something the day before. Then the following day I go in and like first double check the information and then I just continue down the bullet points that I made. But yeah, I get it. I get it.
It's hard. It is hard. Well,
Mhm.
is there anything else you want to go over?
I'll save that for next week. We can talk more about seasonal anime next week.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really excited because I want to watch the Apothecary Diaries.
Oh yeah. That's airing this weekend, right? Or
Yeah, on the
next week?
22nd.
I'm
So
excited.
I am excited.
I went into this season being like, oh yeah, there's not that much new anime. And I think I'm watching the most seasonal anime that I have in such a long time.
That's we'd love to see it. We'd love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about okay, I need to make you watch I'm in Love with the Villainess. There's
Oh my God,
only been 3 episodes so far.
I should watch it.
Honestly, amazing.
Yeah, we'll
Probably hands down one of the best GL anime series that I've ever seen.
man,
And there's not that many to begin with.
I can't believe the gay anime is gay.
Yes. The Yuri anime brought out the LGBT issues.
What is this woke
Who would've-
shit?
Who would have thunk?
This is the problem with the woke mob.
A series that 20 seconds in, the girl says to the other girl that she's in love with her. Who would have thought that
Who
was a
thought?
gay series?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought maybe a Yuri series wasn't fetishizing a WLW relationship?
Oh my god. No, but it's great. So we can talk about that next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week. All right, everybody, have a good week. Follow us on social media, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter, Spotify,
Instagram,
Apple
Podcasts.
Yeah,
all the places.
We're everywhere.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.